it just sits there. So that's where I was with that, and I was smoking a cigarette, and I thought, well, what? I thought, what the hell is that? It can't be. Is that B-52s or is it helicopters? We did have helicopters back then, but I never saw them fly at night like that. And so again, I just thought it was two B-52 bombers together, so close, one behind and a wingman, like that I just took it as that. But I held my hand up like this, and it covered the light, the circumference of the light. But if I did my fist like this, then it was larger than my fist was. And I thought, that is really strange. How can that be? When I sailed with my father growing up, I went to sea with him a couple of times during the summertime. He could do that. You can't do that today, but back then, a chief engineer could do that.
Mm-hmm.
I went inside the facility, went into the flight security controller office, which was just right to the right as you open the front door. And Bill Holloman, he was a staff sergeant, he was talking to his wife back at Ellsworth. And the toggle switch, or the rocker switch, was on the wall just behind him, to the east of the door, of the front of the door. And just watching it, a couple minutes went by, maybe a minute and a half, and all of a sudden this thing goes out, on, out, on, out, and on. And it just sent shivers up me, and I went, wow, well, they do see me. So I literally thought, okay, because I've had them do wing waves at me before, like fighter aircraft or helicopters, they'll do a little swing like that if they see you on the ground. And as security policemen, you're taught that. You are taught hand signals and flashlight signals, for aircraft if you need to be rescued, or you're trying to aid them getting to the ground or what have you. You are trained on that. So I just thought it was really cool. And I thought, all right, well, let's carry this on a little bit further, because still it was in the same location. Not coming closer, no sound. So as I went in, I said, hey, Michael. Didn't know Michael from Adam's House Cat. This is the first time we ever worked together, and he was just simply sent out to work. It's vacation and leave from my partner. So I went in and I said, hey man, there's something in the air, you need to come and look at. No reply. So I ran back in again. I did the same thing. He stayed right there. Flipped it off, flipped it on, flipped it off, flipped it on. Ran back outside. I know Bill Haldeman thought I was a nut by that time. So I get back out there, and it flipped off, and it did not come back on. But when it did come on, it was about 30 or so. It had moved just a little bit north, but it had moved further westward, like from that position to this position, which made it look, say from the 3 o'clock position where I was visualizing it, seeing it, maybe to the 1:30 position, something like that. And it came on, and it just stayed right there. Never heard anything. Never saw any type of flame or anything like an afterburner or nothing. It didn't move, it just was right there. And he goes, hey man, he said, I don't know. And I said, what do you think it could be? Oh, whatever. And he walked back inside. So the last time I went in there and flipped the lights at the thing, came back out, and that would be the 4th time, and it was out, and I didn't see it again. It was, when I came back out, it was gone, or it was out. So I just shook my head. I just took it as, well, I guess they went where Bill Holloman did that, and I hear him saying, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, sit for November 5, which is a 2-pronged alarm. That's an above ground and a below ground sensor that has been affected. And as I said, the temperature was between 9 and 13 degrees that night. So it was cold, so I had on my long johns, fatigue pants, and shirt, and I had on bunny boots, because I knew I was going to be doing some walking, because you have to do a certain type of route around the facility on foot, inside and outside the fence line, which is a good walk. And in snow, it gets kind of a little tight. I also have a way of keeping the transmission warm with a plug-in. So unplugged that, we were set to go, the vehicle's warming up, and we got our safety briefing and everything that we needed, and off we went. And I'd say that was probably right around 12:20, 12:25, and it was a 15-minute travel time to November 5. And strangely enough, that was the closest launch facility to our launch control facility where we lived. It was the closest one. As the crow flies, it was only maybe 5.5 miles away, but away in Highway 79. Every time I entered Newell, population was 230. When I left, it was 230. So now it's 600 and something. So I was there in 21. But as we went downhill, I lost sight of that pulsating glow. We went down to the stop sign. We took a right, and the road goes out about 1.5 miles, and then it doglegs back to the left. And as we turned left, only not a hard left, just a dogleg left, there sat this object on top of November 5. It was about 10 feet in the air, directly on top of that blast door. That was the size of a Walmart that would associate anything in the air with. It was a complete sphere, but on a magnitude that is just hard to even comprehend.
As you know, I'm always on the hunt for things that help me stay sharp, focused, and full of energy while I'm diving into life's mysteries and making this show happen. And I've got to say, Mudwater has completely transformed my mornings. Back in the day, I used to struggle with that post-coffee crash. And let's not even get into the caffeine jitters. Mudwater gave me the smooth, steady energy I was missing. It's packed with functional mushrooms like lion's mane, chaga, and reishi, plus turmeric.
Immediately upon doing so, it was as if a light came down that just blew my eyeballs out of my head. It just, you could literally almost see the veins behind your eyelids. It was as if, I don't know what kind of energy that was, but whatever was released or put down our way just completely almost disabled you just from the brightness. It was like living in a welder's light for a few moments. And then the atmosphere just vacated. Couldn't breathe. Literally could not get a breath of air. Now, I don't know if that was from my excitement. I was doing mirrors on the sides of them. 2-wheel drive vehicles. And the only thing I knew to do was to ask for relief. And where did that come from? I have no idea where that thought or impulse came from.
You pray to God or Jesus or just relief generically?
I think he was in there, and I just asked for relief from what I was experiencing to breathe, because I didn't think I was going to be able to take another breath of air. And I grabbed my flashlight, which I've gotten ridiculed before. It was an aluminum black 3D cell flashlight. I think it was, but they have these little uniforms on. And the one on the far right, he had some type of a small wand in his waist belt. I've got a drawing of it that had a yellow tip on it, some type of a yellow tip. And it really got my attention. And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. But the one behind those three, the front three were the same size, exactly the same size. Looked exactly the same. But the one behind them was a chest and a head taller than the little guys. And he had this thing on his chest right here that pulsated the same color as what was on that little wand. And when I saw him, then I was afraid. Then I felt fear. Maybe just visualized fear? I don't know. It didn't do anything to me that caused fear other than what I was and what I'd just gone through. And then I went black. I just went, that's the last thing that I saw in my mind. And just a second went by, and literally when I came to, my weapon was between my legs, and I'm still holding on to it. And I just looked straight up like that, and right out that reason had to be found out why that thing alarmed, how it did, in that alarm configuration. And when I stepped down, I stepped in mud with those bunny boots on. I'm like, what the hell? How is this? And then to my right, where your chair is located, maybe a foot further, there was a wall there at about a 45-degree angle, and it was white, and it went up about, I don't know, as far as I could see, like 50 feet, but my eyes got more accustomed to the darkness. And then when I looked in both directions, not knowing exactly where I was on the compass, it was as far as I could see that direction, as far as I could see that direction, and up about 50 feet when I become acclimated to the darkness. Had no idea where this was. I said, Michael, come on, man, you gotta wake up, dude. We're in a bad way here. We got to find out what the heck. So I didn't know how it was done. So I did what they asked, and it probably made I don't know, I probably made 20, 25 checks before they got to us. And as I was doing that, I noticed it was getting light to the east. And that was the sun coming up. And then it dawned on me, well, man, we got this alarm last night at 12:15. And I looked at my watch and it was after 6 a.m. So we have all that missing time, and I can't explain anything. For me, it was just what I saw, what we experienced, what I smelled, lights out. Next thing I know, we're sitting behind the New Lake Reservoir Dam.
Miles away.
Miles away. The Sergeant Garza, there were three alert teams looking for us. So that's 6 security policemen from 3 different sites. Whether they used the primary or the backup alert teams, I'm not really sure. And in 2021, discovered that not only had he opened that door and stepped out of that vehicle, or I had, he'd gone right down. Now, you know, it probably just slid down in mud, but it was down pretty deep. And that, it was just amazing to me how we were in the right position to exit there. That's important to me. Trying to explain it to myself, how this took place. So, followed them back to the launch control facility to November 1. They escorted us all the way there. And then 2 of the 3 teams dropped off, and I guess Garza or one of the teams remained. I guess they had to have, when we were going to be removed from the site and taken back to the main base of Ellsworth, which is about 55 miles away, and I didn't know that at the time, they had to have our replacements immediately there. You can't be understaffed on any kind of launch control facility. It has to be fully staffed at all times. So when we pulled up at the site, my flight chief was there, Master Sergeant Hawkins, or Master Sergeant Joel Gray, Assistant Flight Chief, was Tech Sergeant Hawkins, found out of their vehicle. The vehicle was, you know, some distance away from them. Their weapons were distance from them in an open prairie. And one was found completely with no clothes on, the other was just about like 90% unclothed. And I don't know what happened to that, but there were always talks and rumors about things in the air or things when we're back at the runway at Ellsworth, you know, B-52s uploaded bombers that are ready to go, uploaded on the alert pad. And when they used F-86s at one point or a couple of times to chase these objects away. And I think there's several reports of that. One of the guys that I know who's an F-16 pilot, Chris Lato, we were talking about that one time. But anyway, they questioned me up one side and down the other, and I remember telling Master Sergeant Gray, I said, I can draw some things if you'd like me to. And that the question never really got, I don't know if it didn't get to him or answered to him or what happened, but they just kept asking questions. And I got to the point where it was just, everything was just at one time coming from every space in my mind, questions about the whole. I didn't, it was as if my vision was changing, or some part of my visual acuity was changing. And I closed my eyes, and when I did, I had this feeling I was leaving my body. Literally, I thought I was dying. I said, I guess this is how you die. And every time I closed my eyes, I felt as if I went, without going anywhere, I felt as if I kept going lower within myself. And I knew that there was a clear channel to exit me through my feet. I knew there was. There was a map, there was something there. I could leave. Got weapon, everything, and all.
We went to Ellsworth. It was about an hour and 10 minute ride back to Ellsworth. We went into the back gate of Box Elder and went straight to the safety building. And he escorted me the entire way. Armory turned in weapon, all that stuff. And which is normal procedure, you know. Went to Ralph E. Spraker's office on the rest door. And of course, when you are called in like that, you do a full reporting where you literally bang up, knock on the door frame or whatever. Even if the door's open, you knock on the door frame. And then your commander will never tell you to enter.
Still wet from an hour and 15 minutes ago from the sink, you know. So it was really strange. And he asked me some questions, and he said, I remember him saying, sounds as if you've had an interesting evening or night or something like that. And I said, yes, sir. And I looked to my left, and there's a total of 5 people in that room. There's the deputy base commander, who I don't remember his name, but next to him was a man in a gray tweed suit with a hat, and the hat was under his arm. Then there was a Captain Jack Reed, OSI. Next to him was this new OSI guy named Rick Doty.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, and do you have any speculation as to who the guy in the gray tweed suit was?
I was never introduced to him nor told his name. And I only found out Jack Reed was a captain in OSI. He was the lead OSI officer on Ellsworth at that time. And through an email that Rick Doty sent me after.
This eventually drove Benoit into psychiatric hospitalization. So the fact that Doty was part of Mario's debrief is fascinating, seems very important, and requires follow-up by some brave souls.
And up to that point, I had nobody.
Yeah.
I had nobody that could say, yeah, they were there or whatever, what have you. I tried running down the old flight chief and assistant flight chief, but with no success or anybody else. And especially Michael Johnson. Some money has been spent trying to locate Michael Johnson. We looked in hospitals, we looked in.
Can't find him anywhere.
No, sir. And I reported at the Arrow in March of 23, I think, when I spoke with them.
Did Arrow follow up at all?
I don't know, they never got back with me. 4 hours and 19 minutes I spoke with them.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and they said I would get a copy of everything which had been, talked about. They say they don't record it. How do you send somebody a copy without recording something? Come on.
That's ridiculous.
Can you write that fast?
No, but I mean, it's also like.
And there's more than one person sitting there also.
Oh my God! But you're the government agency tasked for investigating UFOs. And
Brand new.
Yeah.
Brand new then.
Mm.
So as a person that's very high in this whole thing said, those were the days then when he was probably, honestly, not changed in any way, perhaps. I just want to say that the right way. Because I email him once in a while, and he'll answer me back, whereas it took me about 5 years to get him to even do that. And then we got to be on a cast together.
So real quick, just context. He now has come out saying he's reformed and he apologizes for, his malpractice in the past. A lot of people are suspicious of that reform. It does feel a little bit sometimes to me like he's flooding the zone with this info. Like he'll talk about, 6 alien races.
Yeah.
And it just seems extremely speculative and not based on any sort of evidence.
Correct.
It's very weird.
Yeah, it's more than I know how to swallow. I only know that what I witnessed is my incident, and anybody that I could get that's